Hi, this is Jeff Dabrowski. Welcome to the Edge in America, where I'm getting tugged on by one of the foals at North Star Farm. We're here today to talk to Marty O'Hare and talk about Emmylou, who might be one of the most underrated horses in North America. Marty, good to see you. But what do you say when people say she has no recognition factor outside Ontario?
Well, that's probably true. I think the U.S., they don't recognize a lot of the Ontario sired performers unless they venture out of Ontario and down into the States, and particularly unless they make a name for themselves at the Meadowlands. But anybody that has seen her race would know that she's a high-quality filly, and no doubt one of the 5 best trotting fillies out there this year.
Okay. After the Hamiltonian Oaks, the talk in Ontario was that had she been in the race, she had a very real chance that she could have won it. Is that just puffery, or do you think that's a realistic assessment?
Well, I think it's nice that people say that about her. I was there that day, and I saw, and I've watched this division very closely because naturally I do have a interest in that filly and that class of horse. And I've watched every one of her races, and yeah, she would have been right there. There's no doubt in my mind she would have been right there. Ultimate Cameron, who finished second in that race, only beat her by a neck and a head in 2 big races up in Canada this past year. So there's no doubt Emmylou would have been right there.
You sold the horse at Harrisburg for $21,000. Why do you think a horse that quality didn't bring more?
Well, I think there's a number of reasons why she only sold for $21,000. Up to that point, the mare's production had been maybe only marginal at best. She did have one pretty good performer there, but lameness kept him from reaching his full potential. And sometimes I think at Harrisburg, a lot of the pure Ontario-bred horses maybe don't get a much exposure. And in my case, where I have sold most of these horses under my own name, the positioning I have at Harrisburg, a location, doesn't allow for a lot of passerby traffic to see a nice-looking horse like she was. So people had to specifically come to the back of one of the other consignments to be able to find me. So unless you were specifically looking for her, I don't think anybody was, I didn't get that buzz that you get when a lot of people see a good-looking horse. And I mean, I was not disappointed with the price under the circumstances.
There's an interesting story about how you got Emerald Sealster. Would you like to share that with our audience?
Well, I don't know how interesting that truly is, but back in '97, when White Horse Farm was closing, we sold our last group of yearlings at Harrisburg that year. I was a little bit very down on the business at that point, only because I was uncertain exactly what I was going to do. So I wanted to do something to keep my interest in the business besides the few brood mares that I owned. So I decided I want to try to race a horse. It had been about 10 years since I had raced one, so I went looking for a horse there, and she was there. I had watched, I've always been a fan of Ontario racing, and had seen her race against Elegant Image back in her 3-year-old year. So it was the end of her 3-year-old season. She had a modest record at the time, but she obviously showed lines that were competitive with really good fillies. So, and I liked what I looked when I saw her. I really liked what I saw, and she really showed me something I like to see in a prospective horse, and she went at, I thought, a reasonable price. So I bought her and gave her to Jimmy Marshall to train, who's another very underrated trainer here in New Jersey, and he did a lot of good with the filly. We got a 58 record at the end of her 3-year-old year, and then she went on to sweep the Super Bowl series at the Meadowlands in January. Was race timed in 55, was second in the Father Foley, racing against 9 other boys. Unfortunately, her knees eventually did her in, which was a little bit of a problem right from the get-go when we first got her.
Now you have a cash haul half-sister to sell in Harrisburg this fall. What else has the mare produced for you?
Well, as I said before, she had had a horse by the name of Green Lantern, who was her first foal in the first crop of muscles, Yankee, who was a very large, heavy horse, although he did have a tremendous gait and a lot of speed. He suffered from EPM as a 2-year-old, but did manage to race as a 2. But Ray Remen ended up with the horse as a 3-year-old, and Ray had a lot of very positive things to say about him. He really thought that was going to be his Hamiltonian horse that year. Had a lot of praise for him. When Ray says something like that, you really have to pay attention. And unfortunately, he chipped a knee his 3-year-old year up at Pocono racing in the Reynolds. He was on the front end to a 3/4 and 26. Looked like he was going to go off, but he chipped a knee, and that was the end of his 3-year-old year. And lameness has kind of plagued him most of his career, although he did show quarters at 26 seconds, won up at Woodbine at 55 and 3 as a 4-year-old, and that was her best performer up until Emmy Lou came along.
You're the farm manager for Joie de Vie Farms, as well as maintaining your own operation. It's a bit of a juggling act. How do you manage to handle it?
It is a juggling act. It's really having two jobs, even though one's your home and your own horses, and it's still, when you get done a full day at Joie de Vie, which is a very large operation between breeding and training, there's a lot of days I don't want to go to work again. So you want to come home and you want to just put your feet up and relax, but you can't do it. You got to go out and do some work. So it gets to be a bit much. I'm not getting any younger, so it becomes much of a challenge year after year. I'm very fortunate that I work for Mrs. Antoinette Nagito. Tony is very supportive of my own operation and my own horses, and so if I need time to do something there, middle of a work day, she has no problem doing, going back and catching up on something I need to get caught up on. As long as I'm doing my job here, she doesn't mind if some time is taken away, and I'm very lucky that she's supportive of me like that.
The last thing, if we're looking for the Cash Hall sister, or what does it, we have a name yet for it? We keep referring to it as.
Well, yeah, her name is named Miss Connor. She's named after the daughter of a very old friend of mine. The daughter passed away last year of brain cancer, and to honor his daughter, who was a very feisty filly, I named this filly for her benefit, and she's much like that. She's got a lot of spirit to her.
And is Miss Connor here behind us anywhere?
Miss Connor is right behind you, eating our fence.
Let's go take a walk, take a look at her, Mike, and point her out to it.
Well, this is Miss Connor over here. Come here, sweetie. Come on, sweetie. Now, don't penalize us because the ground's higher than that. She's not quite this small as it appears with me standing next to her. I'm not 7'1". Hey, filly. Hey, filly. Come here. Come here, sweetie. She's a little bit different looking than Emmy Lou was. This filly is a leggier version, a racier version than was Emmy Lou. Emmy Lou was somewhat of a kind of a more muscular type filly without being overly muscular, because she very much was the pretty filly. This filly has a nice shoulder, nice hind end, good body length to her, but like I say, a leggier filly, a racier filly than her sister was. Being a daughter of Cash Hall, that self-possessed line, she has sort of those nice balanced lines between shoulder and hip. So I kind of like her. It's a nice filly. A little sunburnt right now, though.
All right, well, Marty, well, thank you for having us here today, and we'll see this horse at the sale, and our friendship continues over 30 years, so it's good to see you.
Okay, thank you very much, Jeff.
I'd like to thank you all for watching The Edge in America. This is Jeff Dabrowski returning from a little vacation, and we're going to keep rolling, and because I'm getting bitten, and this is what we do for our audience. So hope to see you all soon on The Edge. Why are you biting me? No reason? You'd rather have Harold? All right.